The sky above Vexus 9 was red and angry. Storms rolled across it like bruises on skin. Lightning cracked through thick clouds that poured acid rain. Far below, on the rocky surface, a small human base clung to life like moss on stone. Inside the base, 2 humans sat at a long metal table, eating from cans and watching static-filled screens. Their names were Liam Harper and Maggie Bell. They had been here for months now, maybe longer. Time was hard to track when every day looked the same. Liam was tall and thin, with tired eyes and a beard he never shaved. Maggie was shorter, with short brown hair and hands that always seemed busy. She fixed things, wires, machines, food processors. If something broke, she made it work again. Outside, the wind howled. Inside, they tried not to think about the things that moved in the dark. "Think we'll make it 5 more years?" Liam asked, pushing his empty can away. Maggie gave him a look. "You really want to talk about that right now?" He shrugged. "Just wondering." She leaned back in her chair. 5 years ago, I thought we'd be dead in 6 months. Now look at us." They both looked around the room. It wasn't much. A few desks, broken chairs, old maps pinned to the walls. But it was theirs, and it kept them alive. A loud beep cut through the silence. They both turned toward the monitor. Static flickered, then cleared just enough to show something strange. Ship. Not one of theirs. It floated high above the planet, sleek and silver, unlike anything humans had ever built. It didn't move like a normal ship. It hovered, silent and still, like it was waiting. Maggie stood up fast. "Did we call for help?" "No," Liam said, already moving toward the control panel. "We haven't sent a signal in weeks. We're out of fuel for the relay." They stared at the screen. The ship hadn't fired any weapons. No message came through, just presence. Then the screen changed. Not a video feed. Not even sound. It was like someone had reached into their heads and whispered directly into their thoughts. "We come. In peace." Maggie stepped back. What the hell was that? Liam's mouth was dry. "I don't know." Another message formed in their minds. "You are hurt. You are alone. We offer aid." Maggie looked at Liam. "Can they hear us if we talk?" "I don't know," he said again. He took a deep breath and spoke out loud. "Who are you?" The pay voice returned instantly. "We are the Zalari. We have watched your kind for many cycles. We do not understand why you stay." Liam frowned. "Stay? We didn't come here by choice. This world kills. This world changes. No species survives. Here." "That's not true," Maggie said. "We've been here over a year." "How?" Liam looked at her, then back at the screen. "We adapt," he said. The Zalari did not respond right away. When they did, it felt like confusion. Not anger or fear, but honest surprise. "We will send an envoy." The screen went blank. Outside, the storm raged. For hours later, the sky split open. A smaller ship descended from the larger one, glowing blue as it cut through the clouds. It landed near the base, soft as a feather. The dust barely settled before the hatch opened. 2 figures stepped out. They were tall, taller than humans, with smooth, pale skin and eyes like stars. They wore simple white suits that shimmered in the dim light. Liam and Maggie stood outside the base, weapons slung over their backs but not drawn. One of the Zalari stepped forward. "Greetings." The voice was softer now, clearer. It still came from inside their heads. Liam nodded. "Hello." Maggie crossed her arms. "So, what now?" "Now we learn." They followed the Zalari to their ship. Inside, everything was clean and bright. No rust, no dirt, no smell of sweat and blood. Liam touched a wall. It was warm. "They live like this all the time?" he whispered. Maggie shook her head. "I don't think we've ever seen anything like this." The Zalari led them to a round room with no windows. A table floated in the center, surrounded by seats that adjusted themselves to fit whoever sat in them. "Why do you remain here?" one of them asked. Liam and Maggie looked at each other. We don't have anywhere else, Maggie said. Earth is broken. We know this. But there are safer worlds, Liam sighed. Maybe. But this one feels like home. Home is a place where you grow, where you are safe. This place tries to kill you. Maggie smiled a little. Yeah, but we fight back. The Zalari tilted their heads like dogs hearing a strange sound. Humans are strange. Liam laughed. Tell me something I don't know. Later that night, after the Zalari left to return to their ship, Liam and Maggie sat by the fire pit they had dug behind the base. The fire burned low, lit with alien wood they had learned to use after their own fuel ran out. You really think this place is home? Liam asked. Maggie looked up at the red sky. I think home isn't a place you pick. It's a place that picks you. Liam didn't answer right away. He stared at the ground. I used to dream about going back, he said. Back to Earth. Back to real trees and clean air. But now what? Now I don't know if I could leave. Maggie smiled. Me neither. Above them, the Zalari ship hovered silently, watching. And somewhere far away, another ship arrived. More Zalari, watching, learning, trying to understand. Why would anyone call a Deathworld home? The first storm came 2 weeks after they landed. Liam remembered the sky turning red before the wind even started. The trees, if you could call them that, twisted like they were trying to run too. Then the rain fell, not water, but something, thick and burning. It ate through their tents in minutes and melted parts of the rover's metal frame. They had come to Vexus 9 with big plans. Operation Terraform Alpha was supposed to be the start of something new. Earth was falling apart. Cities drowned, forests burned, governments collapsed under war and hunger. So the United Nations Space Authority, or what was left of it, sent out dozens of ships to find places where humans could live again. Vexus 9 was one of the best options. It had air humans could breathe just barely, water they could drink, if they boiled it long enough, and land that didn't look completely dead, but looked slide. When the team first stepped off the ship, they wore clean suits and smiled for the cameras. They waved flags and said hopeful things about a new future. They believed they would survive. They were wrong. The first death happened on day 6. A botanist named Karen War went outside alone to collect samples. She didn't return. Her suit was found later, torn open like paper. There was no body, just blood on the rocks and claw marks in the dirt. That was when they learned the planet wasn't empty. The creatures here didn't look like anything from Earth. Some were fast, some were slow, but all of them wanted to kill humans. One looked like a giant worm with teeth. Another had wings made of glass that cut the skin just by flying near you. The second death came a week later. This time it was Derek, who handled security. He was checking perimeter sensors when he vanished. His voice crackled over the radio. Once. Something's in the trees. Then silence. They searched for him at dawn. Found his boots still tied and part of his helmet. That's when they stopped going out alone. The third death was worse. Ellen. The medic got sick. At first, they thought it was food poisoning, but her skin turned gray, her eyes clouded, and she started speaking in a language none of them knew. She died screaming, clawing at her own chest. After that, the team split into 2 groups. One stayed inside the base. The others tried to reach the emergency relay tower miles away. Only 3 made it back. Then came the spores. They floated in the air like dust, invisible until it was too late. Liam saw one land on Maggie's arm. It sank into her skin like a drop of oil. She screamed, pulled it out, but it was already too late. Her fever lasted 4 days. She didn't die. But she changed. Her skin became tougher. Her nose bled every morning. Her dreams filled with colors that didn't exist. When she woke up, she told Liam she could smell danger before it came. He didn't believe her, until the next attack. They were gathering fuel near the edge of the forest when the creature came down from above. It moved faster than anything should. Before anyone could raise a weapon, it killed Tom and wounded Randy. Maggie dropped to her knees and held her nose. "It's close," she whispered. "Behind us." They turned. The thing was already leaping. But this time they were ready. Liam fired first. Maggie threw a flare. Randy hit it with a rock so hard it cracked its skull. They survived. Barely. After that, they stopped trusting the maps. They stopped trusting the gear. They stopped trusting each other. They only trusted what worked. Weeks turned into months. The base became a fortress. They built walls from alien bark, dug trenches around the camp, and strung tripwires. With old wires and cans, they slept in shifts, always armed. Food became harder to find. The supply drops stopped coming. No more fresh meat. No more clean water. They drank from puddles that burned their throats and ate bugs that tasted like rust. One night, Maggie sat by the fire, peeling the shell off a small wriggling thing. "You ever think about giving up?" she asked. Liam looked up. "Every day." "Still here, though?" "Yeah, still here." They stared at the flames. Outside, the wind howled. Somewhere in the dark, something growled. Then came the children. Not many at first. A few survivors, from other missions. Kids whose parents died in the early days. They wandered in, scared and hungry. Liam and Maggie took them in. They taught them how to stay quiet at night, how to avoid the black vines that moved on their own, how to fight if they had to. Some kids never made it, but some did. Noah was one of them. He was 9 when he arrived. He couldn't read, didn't know how to hold a knife. But he learned fast. He climbed higher than any adult, could track animals by sound alone. Ellie was another. She was 7 when her parents died in a cave-in. She didn't talk for weeks. Then one day, she picked up a wrench and fixed the water pump. They weren't just surviving anymore. They were building something. One day, Maggie stood on the roof of the base looking out over the red horizon. "We've been here a year," she said. Liam joined her. "Feels longer," she nodded. "We're not the same people who came here." "No," he agreed. "We're not." Below, Noah and Ellie played near the edge of the cliff, throwing rocks into the mist. They laughed, they ran, they fought like normal kids. Except nothing about this place was normal, and yet somehow, it felt like home. The Zalari returned not long after that. Their ship hovered above the base like a ghost. This time they brought gifts, medicine, tools, clean food. "You do not have to suffer," their voice echoed in Liam's mind. "Come with us. We will take you somewhere safe." Liam looked at Maggie. She looked at the kids. "We're safe here," she said. "This world kills." "We know," Liam said, "but we're still here." The Zalari didn't understand. They never would. Humans didn't need perfect worlds. They needed a chance, and they always took it, even on a Deathworld. The suns rose over Vexus 9, red and angry. Noah stood at the edge of the cliff, watching the mist roll in from the valley below. The wind smelled like burnt stone and something sharp, maybe spores, maybe poison. He didn't flinch. He was 12, now. His skin was tough from years under the twin suns. His hands were calloused from building walls and sharpening spears. His eyes saw things adults missed, movement in the trees, shapes in the fog. Behind him, Ellie ran up the slope, her boots kicking up dust. "You coming?" she asked. Noah nodded. "Yeah." They started down the path together. It was early, but the day was already hot. Sweat clung to their skin, but they didn't complain. They never did. Down near the river, the older kids were waiting. A few had stayed behind to guard the base. Most came out to help gather food and check traps. They worked like soldiers, quiet and focused. No one talked much anymore. Words were wasted breath. Ellie knelt by a line of snares they'd set the night before. One had caught something small, a six-legged thing with thick fur and sharp teeth. She reached for it carefully. "You sure that's dead?" Noah asked. Ellie looked at the creature. Its chest wasn't moving. She poked it once with a stick. "Yeah," she said. "It's done." She picked it up and dropped it into her bag. One more. Noah checked the next snare. Empty. Same with the one after. He frowned. "Something's been taking them." Ellie looked around. "You think it's the big one again?" "Maybe." They kept moving. Back at the base, Maggie was cooking. The fire pit smoked, sending gray clouds into the sky. A pot hung over the flames, filled with roots, insects, and bits of meat from yesterday's catch. Liam sat nearby, cleaning his rifle. He didn't talk much these days. Didn't have to. Everyone knew what needed doing. Maggie stirred the pot and looked toward the horizon. "They're late," she said. Liam didn't look up. "They always are. I don't like it when they go too far. They know the rules." She sighed. Still, outside the wind shifted. Trees bent low like they were listening. Then the alarm rang. A loud clang from the watchtower. Someone hit the metal pipe hard enough to echo through the whole base. Liam stood fast. Maggie grabbed a knife. They ran outside. From the tower, a voice called down. "Movement." Everyone froze. In the distance, beyond the trees, something moved. Fast. Big. Then it was gone. Liam looked at Maggie. "Get the kids back." She nodded and ran toward the gate. An hour later, the group returned. Noah and Ellie led the way, followed by the others. They were tired, but not hurt. Maggie pulled Ellie close. "What happened?" "Nothing," Ellie said. "We heard the alarm, so we came back." Maggie looked at Noah. "We saw something," he admitted. "Out there. Watching us." Liam frowned. "What kind of something?" Noah shook his head. "Not sure. Too fast." Liam looked at the forest again, then back. At the kids. "You all did good," he said. "Go eat." They went inside without question. Once they were gone, Maggie turned to Liam. "This place is changing them," she said. Liam looked at the kids through the open door. They were laughing, sharing food, acting like nothing had happened. "I know," he said, "but isn't that the point?" "No," Maggie said. "They should be scared. They should be running." "They are," Liam said. "Just not from this world." Maggie didn't answer. Later that night, the Zalari returned. Their ship hovered above the base like a ghost. Lights flickered across its smooth hull. The same two aliens stepped out as before, tall, pale, silent. Liam and Maggie met them. Outside. "We have watched the children," the Zalari said. "They do not fear this world." Maggie crossed her arms. "Should they? This planet kills. It changes. No species survives here." Liam shrugged. "We did." "You adapted. They were born here." Maggie looked at the base. Through the window, she could see Ellie helping a younger kid tie his shoes. Noah was fixing a broken radio using tools he made himself. "They're not just surviving," Maggie said. "They're living." "But at what cost?" Liam didn't answer right away. "They breathe air that would kill you," he said. "They can tell if a plant is poisonous just by smell. They move faster than any human should." Maggie added, "They don't even notice the storms anymore. They are not like other humans." "No," Liam agreed. "They're not." The Zalari looked at each other. "We offer them safety." Maggie shook her head. "They don't need safety. They will die young." "So do we," Liam said. "Doesn't mean we stop living." "Then why do you let them stay?" Maggie looked at the kids again. "Because this is home." The Zalari didn't understand, but they didn't argue either. They left quietly. Days passed. The children grew bolder. They explored farther, built better traps, learned how to read the land like it was a book. One day, Ellie found a new kind of plant. It had blue leaves and pulsed like it had a heartbeat. She touched it and felt warmth spread through her fingers. "It's alive," she told Noah. He looked at it. "Yeah, but it's not trying to kill us." That night, they brought it to the base. Maggie studied it. Could be food, could be poison. Ellie smiled. "Let me try it." Liam stopped her. "No," she frowned. "Why not?" "Because I said so." "But, no." She backed off, but her eyes stayed on the plant. She didn't understand why adults were afraid of everything. This world was dangerous, but it was also full of things to learn, and she wanted to learn them all. Another storm came. Rain fell like acid. Lightning cracked the sky. Winds tore through the trees. Inside the base, the kids huddled together. Some were scared. Most weren't. Noah sat by the fire, watching the storm through a cracked window. "You think we'll ever leave?" he asked Ellie. She thought about it. "I don't know." "You want to?" She looked at the others. At the faces she knew better than her own. "No," she said. "This is where we belong." Noah nodded. "Me neither." Outside, the storm raged. Inside, the children laughed, and somewhere far away, the Zalari watched, trying to understand. How could anyone call a Deathworld home? But they were starting to see, because the kids didn't just survive, they thrived. The wind was still the morning the Zalari came back. No storm, no rain, just silence. Liam stood outside the base, looking up at the sky. The twin suns hadn't risen yet. The red horizon stretched out like a wound that never healed. Behind him, the base was quiet too, but inside people were talking, arguing. Maggie sat at the long metal table, arms crossed, jaw tight. She hadn't slept all night. Across from her, Liam leaned forward, rubbing his face with both hands. "We can't keep pretending," he said. "This place is killing them." "They're alive," Maggie snapped. "That's more than most people can say." "Barely," Liam muttered. They weren't the only ones in the room. Around the table sat the older kids, Noah, Ellie, and a few others who had grown up on Vexus 9. Some adults were there too, survivors who had been here since the beginning. The Zalari had left a choice. They offered to take everyone off-world, a new home, clean air, real food, medicine that didn't come from old first aid kits or wild plants. Safety. But not everyone wanted it. Ellie looked at Maggie. "You said this is where we belong." "I did," Maggie said, "and I still believe it." "But what if she's wrong?" Noah asked quietly. Silence filled the room. Maggie turned to him. "What did you just say?" He met her eyes. "What if this isn't the right place for us anymore?" Outside, the Zalari ship hovered above the base like a ghost. Its lights blinked slowly, waiting. Inside, the humans argued. Later that day, they split into groups. Some stayed with Maggie. They believed staying was the only way to truly survive. They had built this life, fought for every breath. To leave now would be like giving up. Others gathered near the edge of the base, looking up at the ship. Liam stood with them. He looked back at Maggie one last time. "You don't have to stay," he said. She shook her head. "Yes, I do." He didn't argue. He just nodded. Then he turned and led the others toward the landing zone. The Zalari lowered a ramp. One by one, the humans stepped onto the ship. Some were young. Some were old. All of them carried scars, burns, cuts, missing fingers, proof of what they had survived. Noah hesitated before stepping aboard. He looked back at Ellie. "You're really staying?" he asked. She nodded. "I am." He frowned. "Even after everything?" She smiled. "Especially because of everything." He didn't know what to say, so he just hugged her. "I'll miss you," he whispered. "I'll miss you too." Then he let go and walked up the ramp. Ellie watched him disappear inside the ship. Then she turned and walked back to the base. Inside the Zalari ship, everything was clean, too clean, no dirt, no rust, no smell of sweat or fire, just cold metal and soft lights. Liam sat down in one of the seats. It adjusted to fit his body perfectly. Across from him, a woman named Karen held her son close. He was only 6. His skin was pale from lack of sun. His eyes were wide, scared. "Do you think it'll be okay?" she asked. Liam looked out the window. The red land stretched forever below. "I hope so," he said. A Zalari approached. "You are leaving home." Liam shook his head. "Not all of us." "Why would some stay?" He sighed. "Because they think this is home. But this world kills." "Yeah," Liam said. "But we made it ours anyway." The Zalari tilted their head. "Humans are strange." Liam smiled. "Tell me something I don't know." Back at the base, Maggie was already working. She moved fast, checking traps, fixing broken wires, making sure the walls were strong. Ellie helped her carry tools. "They're gone," Ellie said. Maggie didn't stop moving. "Yeah, you okay?" Maggie finally looked at her. "Doesn't matter if I'm okay, we've got work to do." Ellie nodded. "We'll be fine." Maggie smiled. "I know." They kept working. Outside, the wind picked up again. But inside, life went on. Days passed. The Zalari ship was gone. The ones who left were gone too. Only the ones who stayed remained. Maggie sat by the fire one night, staring at the flames. Ellie joined her. "You ever think about going back?" Ellie asked. Maggie shook her head. "Earth's dead." "No," Ellie said. "I meant going somewhere else like they did." Maggie looked at her. "You don't want to stay forever, do you?" Ellie asked. Maggie thought about it. She thought about the storms, the creatures, the pain, the fear. But she also thought about the laughter, the stories, the way Ellie could read the land better than any map. "This place changed us," Maggie said. "Made us stronger." Ellie nodded. "It did, but maybe someday we'll find another home." Ellie smiled. "Maybe." Above them, the stars burned bright, and far away across the stars the Zalari watched, still trying to understand. Why would anyone call a Deathworld home? But now, they saw the truth. Humans didn't need perfect worlds. They needed a chance. And they always took it, even when the cost was high, even when the choice hurt, even when they had to leave part of themselves behind. Years passed on Vexus 9. The wind still howled through the red trees. The storms still came without warning. The land still tried to kill anything that lived. But the humans stayed. They built bigger homes, stronger walls, better traps, and they had children. One of them was a Daniel, Ellie's son. He was born under the twin suns with red dust in his lungs and fire in his blood. He never knew Earth, never saw clean water or soft grass. But he didn't need to. This world was all he ever needed. Life on Vexus 9 was hard, but Daniel grew strong. The time he was 10, he could track animals by smell alone. By 12, he could climb cliffs that made adults dizzy just looking up. He learned from Maggie, who taught him how to read the sky before a storm. He learned from Ellie, who showed him how to tell if a plant was safe just by touch. He didn't go to school like kids used to. Instead, he studied survival. How to build shelters from alien bark, how to make tools from broken metal, how to fight when the creatures came too close. But more than anything, he wanted to understand the planet, not just how to live on it, but why it was the way it was. One day, Daniel found something strange. He was walking near the edge of the forest when he heard it. Not a growl, not a scream, but something else. Sound, soft, low, like music played through bones. He followed it into the trees. The deeper he went, the louder it got. Then he saw them. Creatures unlike any he had seen before. Tall, thin, with skin like moss, and eyes that glowed in the dark. They stood in a circle making the sound together. Not attacking, just speaking. Daniel watched for a long time. Then he stepped forward. The creatures stopped. They looked at him. He raised his hands slowly, showing he wasn't holding a weapon. One of them stepped closer. It tilted its head. Daniel did the same. Then, one word formed in his mind. Why? He didn't know where it came from, didn't know if it was real. But he answered, I want to understand. The creature blinked. Then it walked away. So did the others. Daniel stood there, heart pounding. He had done something no human had done before. He had talked, not fought. And somehow, the planet had listened. Back at the base, Daniel told Maggie and Ellie what he had seen. They didn't believe him at first. You talked to them? Ellie asked. Daniel nodded. I think so. Maggie frowned. You mean you fought them? No, Daniel said. I didn't even raise my weapon. Ellie looked at Maggie. Could be true. Maggie shook her head. Or it could be a trap. Daniel sighed. It wasn't a trap. They were trying to talk. How do you know? Because I heard them, Daniel said. In my head. Maggie and Ellie looked at each other. They had both felt things since living here. Smells before danger. Dreams that felt like memories. Thoughts that weren't always their own. Maybe Daniel was just farther along. Maybe he was changing faster than the rest. From that day on, Daniel kept going back. Each time he went deeper into the forest. Each time, the creatures waited for him. They didn't speak in words like before, but they made sounds, and Daniel started to copy them. At first it was just noise, then patterns, then meaning. He brought Ellie with him once. She didn't hear the voices, but she saw the creatures watch them, not with hate, not with fear, with curiosity, like they were trying to understand too. Years passed. Daniel grew taller, stronger, smarter. He became the first human to truly communicate with the native life forms. Not as enemies, not as threats, as neighbors. He built a new kind of home, not just for humans, but for both species. He taught others how to listen, how to speak without weapons, how to live without fighting. And slowly, the world began to change. The creatures no longer attacked without reason. Some even helped protect the humans from the ones that still did. The land once deadly became less wild, not safe, but known, understood, respected. Far away, the Zalari returned. Their ship hovered above the base like it had before. They sent down an envoy, 2 tall aliens with pale skin and star-filled eyes. They met with Maggie and Ellie. We have not visited in many years, the Zalari said. What has changed? Maggie smiled. Everything. You are still here. We are, Ellie said. And we're not alone anymore. The Zalari looked around. Where are the others? Maggie pointed toward the forest. They're learning, she said, from us and from the planet. Humans and natives working together? Daniel stepped forward. Yes, he said. We're building something new. The Zalari looked at him. You are different. Daniel nodded. I know. How? I listen, Daniel said. And I learn. The Zalari didn't understand everything. But they understood this. Humans didn't just survive. They evolved, even on a death world. That night, Maggie sat by the fire with Ellie and Daniel. The flames danced in the dark. Above them, the stars burned bright. Ellie looked at Daniel. You really think they'll keep coming back? Daniel nodded. Yeah, they want to know how we did it. Maggie chuckled. Let them wonder. Ellie smiled. They'll never get it. No, Daniel said. They won't. Maggie looked out over the land. This place almost killed us, she said. But now it's part of us. Daniel leaned back. We didn't just survive. We became something else. Ellie looked at the forest. Something better? Maggie nodded. Yeah, something better. And far away the Zalari watched. Still, trying to understand why would anyone call a Deathworld home. But now they were starting to see because the humans hadn't just survived. They had become. The Zalari ship hovered above Vexus 9 like it had many times before. But this time something was different. The humans below no longer looked like refugees. They didn't live in broken shelters or cower behind rusted walls. They stood tall. They wore clothes made from alien fibers. Tools hung from their belts, built not from old Earth tech but from what they had found on this world. They were not just surviving. They were thriving. A group of them waited near the landing site. At the center stood dear Daniel, now grown, with red-stained skin and eyes that saw more than most. Beside him was his mother, Ellie, older now, but still strong, and at her side, Maggie. Gray-haired and smiling, they watched as the ramp lowered and the Zalari stepped out, tall, pale, silent. "We have seen many worlds," one said, "but none like this." Daniel stepped forward. "Because this one made us who we are." "You should not have survived here." "No," Ellie agreed. "We shouldn't have." "And yet, you did more than survive." "We became something new," Daniel said. The Zalari looked around. Children ran through the village, laughing. Their feet left prints in the red dirt. Some wore masks made from bone and bark. Others carried tools that hummed faintly, built from both human hands and alien materials. In the distance, homes rose from the land, half human, half native. No fences, no walls, just life. "Your kind has changed," the Zalari said. "Yes," Maggie said. "We have." "You are not like the others who left?" "No," Ellie said. "We're not." "Why stay?" Daniel looked out over the red horizon. "Because home isn't where you come from," he said. "It's where you belong." The Zalari tilted their heads. "You do not need us." Daniel shook his head. "No, we don't." "Then what will you become?" Daniel smiled. "Whatever we need to be." Back at the base, which wasn't a base anymore, the people went about their day. Some worked in the fields, planting hybrid crops that could grow in poisoned soil. Others trained young children how to speak the native sounds, not with words, but with thought and tone. One child, Maya, sat by the river, watching the water swirl. She dipped her hand into it and closed her eyes. She felt the current shift before it moved. She pulled her hand back just before the water turned black. Her friend, Jake, stared at her. "You knew," he said. She nodded. "Yeah, that's weird." She grinned. "Yeah, but useful." They laughed and ran off toward the trees. Behind them the land watched, not with fear, but with interest. Later that night, Daniel sat with Maggie and Ellie near the fire. The twin suns had set. The stars burned bright above. "They'll keep coming back," Ellie said. "I know," Daniel replied. "They still don't get it," Maggie said. "They never will," Ellie agreed. Daniel looked at the flames. "They think we're strange, because we stayed. But we stayed because we had to, because we could." Maggie nodded. "And now look at us." Ellie smiled. "We're not the same people who came here." "No," Maggie said. "We're not." Daniel pointed at the children playing in the dark. "They won't even remember Earth," he said. "To them this is home." "And maybe that's what makes us human," Ellie said. "Not where we come from, but how we make the place. We end up our own." Maggie looked at the sky again. "Earth is gone," she said. "But we're still here." Ellie leaned back. "Better than ever," Daniel added. "Stronger than ever." And somewhere far away, the Zalari watched, trying to understand how could anyone call a Deathworld home. But now they saw, because humans didn't need perfect worlds, they needed a chance, and they always took it. even when the cost was high, even when the world tried to kill them, even when they had to change to survive. Years passed. The Zalari returned. Many times, each time they saw more change. Human bodies grew stronger, eyes adapted to see farther, skin thickened, reflexes sharpened, children learned to talk without speaking, adults learned to listen without hearing. They lived in harmony with the planet, not against it. And slowly, the creatures of Vexus 9 began to accept them, not as invaders, not as threats, as neighbors, as equals. Eventually, the Zalari sent a message across the galaxy. Report, humanity has evolved beyond expectations. They do not need perfect worlds to survive. They do not run from danger. They take broken places and make them their own. They call a Deathworld home, because they made it one. Across the stars, other species read the report. Some were amazed, some were afraid, all were curious. What kind of species chooses to live on a world that kills? What kind of people stay even when they can leave? The answer was simple: humans. Strange, stubborn, fearless humans. On Vexus 9, life went on. New babies were born under the red sky. Old stories were told around fires made from alien wood, and every morning the wind blew through the trees, carrying the scent of danger and hope. Daniel stood at the edge of the village one morning. Beside him, Ellie held a small girl, her granddaughter. "She looks like you," Ellie said. Daniel smiled. "Good." The baby reached out toward the red horizon. Daniel took her tiny hand and held it. "She's going to be something special," he said. Ellie nodded. "Yeah, I know." They watched the suns rise. Red, angry, beautiful, home, and somewhere above, the Zalari watched again, still trying to understand, why would anyone call a Deathworld home? But now, they didn't need an answer. Because they already knew. Humans would always find a way, even on the worst worlds, even when the cost was everything, even when the only thing they had was each other. That was enough, more than enough.